What the fuck is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. This right here is the podcast where we dive into the deepest, darkest, murkiest waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the number one scumbag, Rex Ruger. That's Rex with 3 X's. Ladies and various other people know why 3 X's. You might also know me as AKA the King of Sleaze, AKA the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, AKA Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Hard science is almost in on that. Talk to my lawyers today. We're almost there. DNA testing almost conclusive. And we will prove once and for all, like we didn't already know, that this face is the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got 1 million fans because I'm your ice cream man. Mr. Wop Bop Loo Bop Wop Bam Bam Shazam. Hot damn. Feeling good. Looking good. And that's, of course, made possible by you want to look this good. You got to put in the work. You got to get the product. Coming to you as always from the lush, lavish, lavender lounge of love, where it all goes down. Joined as always by my main man, Keith Hernandez Puppet. And we're angry today because, well, why are we angry? Because we got a hardcore metal interview today. And I'm all, I don't know, amped up. That's all I can say. This is, of course, the No Frills podcast. You don't get frills because you get plenty of thrills. And that's looking at this face, that face, and your face too, Keith. And Keith, I know you've been excited. Keith's actually the one that put me onto this band, whose singer we're going to be interviewing today. So kudos to you, Keith. Keeping it metal back there, baby. And you also don't get frills because I don't know how to give you frills. I'm almost 50 years old, knocking at the door, a couple weeks, folks. So I give you what I give you. That's this beautiful face, my little preamble when I come on, and then, wow. Woo! I Bruce Lee you. Slap you up with a fucking kick-ass interview right between the eyes. And today is no different. Boy, I am extra amped up today, man. Woo! Feeling good, though. Feeling good. And as you know, as I said before, looking good. And that's more important. I am, of course, among doing this podcast, fronting numerous glam and sleaze metal bands all around the tri-state New York area and up and down the eastern seaboard. I'm everywhere, folks. But my main passion project, Love Sword, still looking for players. So if you're virtuoso level or higher, hit me up. Serious inquiries only. And as I invite my guest in here and send him the link, we're going to get him in here and we're going to chop it up big time with this guy. I am awfully ramped up today, man. Whew. Well, I have just been listening to this gentleman that's going to be coming on and joining us. I have been listening to him and his band, and we'll get more to that afterwards because, you know, I never like to divulge a lot. But, well, here he is right now. So we'll just get right down to chopping it up on another episode of Pod Scum. Fuck it all. Let's go. Let's go.
Hey, how's it going?
Let's go, KNOX Colby. Let's go.
How's it going?
Right?
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, man. I mean, you know what, man? Well, first of all, let me tell I'm getting way ahead of myself. Let me tell my audience. KNOX Colby from Richmond, Virginia. Pride of Richmond, Virginia, right? Pride of Richmond, Virginia, man. Enforced. Badass name. I'll tell you what, man. 2021, that Kill Grid album is a fucking banger. It shouldn't even have a parental advisor sticker. It should have they should invent a sticker for that album that says, you may be induced to go commit violent fucking crimes after listening to this album.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. You guys should have your own sticker, man.
We have stickers as enforced fucks. That's about it.
Yeah, I
It's
like
like
that.
this big. It's huge.
I love it, man. I mean, seriously, man, you guys got the formula all figured out in this. I ask a lot of musicians on here, questions about, in this day and age in the music industry, how to release music. Do you go the EP route? Do you go the singles route? People are still going the LP route. You guys seem to have the formula down. 9 tracks, 41 fucking minutes of just fucking pulverizing metal. That's a perfect number right there.
I don't know. It's a little long to me, but
you think so?
I mean, like, I lose steam because I listen to it all the time. So, like,
Yeah.
I lose steam like halfway through the last song. But it's also because I know it's coming. It's not like I know the ending's coming. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of checked out.
Yeah.
But the new record that we just finished should be announced somewhat in the next like week or two.
Nice.
It's 10 songs in 32 minutes.
Tight.
So it's
tight.
fast.
Yeah.
It's
tight
fast and it's tight.
Tight and fast, like I like my women. Tight and fast, man. That's a good formula, man. It works. It works, man. I'm telling you, man. I'll tell you what vibes that I got off this album, and I mean this in the utmost complimentary way. Got a lot of old school Sepultura vibes off of that, off of Kill Grid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
could hear a lot of Max Cavalera influence in there.
He's a huge influence of mine vocally, and I'm sure he's a huge influence as Zach and Will's as well.
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds. What? Give me 2 seconds, man.
Yeah. I love this, man. No editing. Just Knox just goes and deals with some shit.
Yep. Okay, sorry about that. I had to turn the power on to the shed because
no worries, man. No worries.
I got a couple friends making I think they're making 7-inch boxes, and I got dogs out here as well. Raleigh, hey, relax. Don't make me put you inside.
Yeah, okay, he is the singer for Enforced, by the way. So check yourself, man.
I don't want to get loud at you.
So, but is that safe to say though, man?
Yeah.
Any other influences? I mean, like, what else am I hearing in there, man?
Tons. I mean, Slayer's obviously a big one.
Big one.
Demolition Hammer's another big one.
Yeah.
Sepultura. I mean, just hardcore and punk that we all grew up on.
Yeah. Here's the thing I love about the Cavaliers, though, man. They're like the Partridge Family of fucking metal, right? They keep it in the family, and everybody travels together and stays together. I talked about that on other episodes on here, too, how great it is that, the kids are in the music industry. His wife is the manager and kind of keeping them all together on the tour bus and everything, man. You rarely see that in heavy metal bands.
Yeah, you don't. It's cool because everyone's kind of rooting for everyone else because they have to, because it's family. It's not like you can fire your kid. I mean, I guess you can, but like,
I guess you could.
It's not going to be good. Like, so it's cool that everyone sticks together. Yeah, I agree with you.
So when you're creating music, man, you got a specific process, man? Like, what gets you ramped up to get these songs written, man? Like, you take your impetus from, like, the media, like, news, from movies, stuff, because you're writing some pretty angry shit here.
I take it from, I got a bachelor's in history.
Okay.
And I always go back to like all my old textbooks and stuff like that, and new stuff that I've read. And I always noticed that like the cyclical nature of like human history. It's, if one thing ever happens, it's happened before and it's going to happen again.
Right.
And so if you like start to see trends of human behavior, whether it's war, violence, and stuff like that, you get kind of sick of it because it's just like, this again.
I know,
like,
right?
It's so aggravating. It's just like, why can't you like see that this is like nothing you're doing is new, and like nothing that the outcome's going to be similar or the same.
Right.
Like, why are you perpetuating the cycle when we have all the stuff written down that explains the cycle. You don't have to perpetuate it.
Right.
And you can break it if you'd like, but you're not going to because you're human and you can't help it. Like,
and that's saying the history repeats itself, but there's some history you don't want to fucking necessarily repeat itself.
You don't, but it does anyway. And you're just like, it becomes boring. And it becomes like almost ironic. Like things like just stuff I've noticed is just like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
that this awful fucking thing happened again. You're just like, ugh. And just kind of all my anger stems from that of just I guess it's just human nature.
Yeah.
Like how you just can't, like, even if you knew. I mean, I'm privy to it myself, so I'm also mad at myself.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so it's like, yeah, it's just about being human, and there's a whole wellspring of anger to be
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
said about that.
Yeah.
It's this, yeah, that's kind of gives you enough. And I also started looking at, technology, and what is it? Um, Technology, history, not necessarily politics. I'm not really that big of a political guy,
Yeah.
but um, again, just the cyclical nature of things. Like it's a fascinating place to start, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you can also kind of get wrapped up in your head about it.
When you say
So
technology, man, where is your headspace when like when you're throwing technology into the mix of things to be angry about? Are you? Because a lot of what I get angry about, and especially having grandkids now, because I'm going to be 50 years old here in a couple of weeks. So having grandkids, I see how much this technology can really pull them in, and I've talked about this with other friends my age too, where you just don't see kids doing what kids used to do. They're almost, they're
well, at the
almost
same
pulled, they're almost pulled into this vortex of technology, and it really puts them in a trance. I see my grandkids with those goddamn tablets, and they fucking can't pull their heads out of them.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, like your grandparents probably thought the exact same thing about
Probably.
something, and then their grandparents were mad about them being obsessed with a hoop and a stick. So it's just like,
Yeah.
that's, again,
That's the
it's
cyclical
always
thing you're talking about.
it's always happened. Like you can't, like, get over it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always going to
um,
be that generation gap.
yeah, well, I was talking more about like what happens to your psyche, like UXO. That song UXO is technically about technology because it's
Yep.
about carpet bombing and stuff like that. And that's for that time that was completely new and alien, a different way to approach things. But it's the worst fucking way to approach it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can't find you, so I guess everyone has to suffer. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to bomb your entire country
Yeah.
for like to try and find like a couple hundred people. That's
Yeah.
terrible. That's awful.
Yeah.
And in the new album, there's a song that's not necessarily about social media or anything. It's more about the long-term effects of it, of like
Yeah.
thinking that this sounds bad, but I don't mean it to be. Thinking that you're someone that you're not.
Yeah.
And like thinking that you have some influence over
Yeah.
an audience and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
that irks me because I've
Yeah.
met people like that, that are like big on YouTube, or they have like, a bunch of people on TikTok. And you're just like, okay, cool, but like, what does that have to do with
Yeah.
me talking to you?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a
And
little
like,
confused by that whole moniker of like, oh, what do you do for a living? You're a social influencer.
well, I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, influencing to do what? Just to buy
Yeah.
shit? Just to
Right.
buy
Right.
shit? And you're just like,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
So like, it's like the new door-to-door salesman. You sell lip gloss. That's cool. Like,
Right.
and
Right.
that's when I say that to them, I'm just like, oh, so you're like a door-to-door salesman, but online. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And they get really fucking offended, and
Yeah.
you're just like, well, that's what you're doing. Like,
more or less. Yeah.
I mean, and hey, I don't have a problem with door-to-door salesmen. Like,
No. Everyone's got to make a living, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, you got to put food on the table, and that's fine. Like, but don't think that you have like some type of social currency with that, because like,
Right.
you're not getting it from me. I don't even know who the hell you are.
Yeah.
So you don't have it.
So when you go create these songs, are you somebody that has to get into some kind of an ambiance or a setting, or are ideas just coming to you throughout the day? Or like when you go to create or write lyrics, are you somebody that needs to go to a specific space? You got to be in some specific type of mood?
Yeah, I gotta take daddy's medicine.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. So drinking can be involved, but you got to hole up somewhere, or ideas just popping in your head.
I mean, sitting where I usually sit. I'm always on my porch.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I'm just
nice.
sitting, especially on the weekends if I got nothing to do, no work. I'm just sitting and thinking, and then I start reading things and
Getting angry.
well, no, just reading things. Like I got really fascinated with chimpanzees over the past couple months, and they're fascinating. But I will just write, just I have a notebook of just random thoughts.
Yeah.
And so I just write down if I read something and I think something that I think is interesting, I'll just write it down, and I'll just fill up a whole notebook with just scatterbrained thoughts.
Yeah.
And then I'll try to like congeal them all together into
I like that though, because you're not actually putting pressure on yourself to say, I'm going to sit down and write a song per se. You just kind of going back through and saying, geez, this buzzword or this phrase or this or that. So you're kind of doing it like you're kind of doing it piecework.
Yeah, you could try and like weave just like, okay, this is what I was thinking. I see the pattern that I was thinking. Okay, let's go with that pattern and continue on thinking that way and see, or like with that I guess goal in mind. Like, okay, let's try and write something halfway decent.
Yeah. That's an interesting dichotomy though, rather than putting that pressure on yourself to sit down and say, okay, I've got to write a 4-minute song right now. You know, I mean,
no. I mean, they write all the music, and then I write all the lyrics to try and get the cadence and the spacing and pacing down.
Yeah.
So I'm not, going a mile a minute with my mouth, and because that doesn't translate well live on stage, because I just gas myself out. Trying to catch up with myself of what I wrote. So the next one it's far more easy to perform. It's easier to like as a listener to like pay attention and to keep up instead of it just being like motor mouth all the time. Right. It's slow. It's the songs are faster, but the lyrics are at a much far slower pace.
And how did you fare during COVID? Did you end up getting sick at all?
I got sick once. I probably got sick more and just didn't realize it, but I got sick once, and I had like a really bad fever that I broke immediately. Like I put on all my winter clothes and like 2 hats and put on all the blankets on my bed and just got under it.
The fevers are rough.
And I broke the fever in like 2 hours. And then I just had like my neck felt a little sore for like a week, and I was
so if you did have it, you probably had a mild case of it.
Oh no, I definitely had it, but like if it hadn't broke that fever, it probably would have been terrible. So like being holed up in my room for 2 weeks, really like with no symptoms other than like a kind of sore neck, it was fucking aggravating. I was like, this is it. Give me the big dose. Like, this sucks, because like I don't feel bad at all, and I have the energy and want to do things, but I can't.
When everything was hunkered down and we were going through the quarantine, did you find that to be a very fruitful, abundant time for you as far as like, creativity and, because we were so hunkered down, did you find that creativity was a little easier to tap into with nothing else to do?
No, I had to work. Me and my roommate at the time were both like apartment maintenance technicians.
Okay.
So we were considered like mandatory, but no one made a flag for me, so I was like, whatever. So it was just business as usual for me.
It was for me too, but I'm a nurse by day. That's my day job, so I work in healthcare, so I'm right in the trenches. So that I am deemed an essential worker as well. So off to work for me too, and around sick people too. So
I was just like, I have to constantly go into people's apartments, just like, I don't know what kind of shit you got, but I have to do this apparently. Like I would have liked to have hunkered down with everybody, like and taken a break, but like, guess not. Like, no one cares about the plumber. Plumbers don't get a pat on the back. Like,
no, they don't. No. So when this new album comes out, what is the plan going forward? Like, where does a young band? I mean, I guess I'm still referring to you guys as a young band. I mean, you guys started around 2016?
Late 20. I say 2017 because that's when the demo came out, and that's when we started playing shows. So January.
So when a young band puts out these kick-ass albums, where do you go? Because I hear all kinds of nasty things in the music industry still, that you got to pay to get on the good bills and stuff like that. Like, where do you take this album?
You don't.
No,
You don't have to do that.
no.
I when I was in high school, like, and in all my high school bands, there would be situations where you'd have to quote unquote pay to play. But if people are doing pay to plays, you don't want to play with that show anyway because it's gonna suck.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's not worth it. Like, pay to plays are awful, and whoever had the idea of setting that up is a fucking scumbag
Yeah.
and like should be exiled. I'm not gonna
Well,
kill
when you're
him
putting out an album
easily.
like Kill Grid, and I don't know how much you read reviews or whatever, but once I discovered the album and discovered you guys, and it was going back around the time that album came out. I hadn't tapped into you guys after the first album, but that's the one thing that I do like about the technological part of the music industry, as far as like going to your music platform. Because what I find that I like about Apple Music is if I'm searching up, albums or bands, it'll give me suggestions like, oh, if you like these guys at the bottom of the page, you might like these guys. So I do get to come across, and I'm fortunate enough to get turned on to some good music. But then when I went back and read a lot of stuff, though, man, Kill Grid was really, really extremely well received. So, I mean, does that help when you're getting like picked up for tours, though? Do other bands like, take notice of that? Because I'm not an industry insider. So, like, how do you get on good bills?
Me neither. I'm not an industry insider. I don't know fucking half about it. I try to tell people this, and I mean this sincerely.
Yeah.
I literally just yell things at people. Like,
yeah.
That's my job.
You're a professional yeller.
Yeah, I'm the town crier, literally. My whole job is to do interviews and hang out and talk to people.
Right.
And I'm here to hype the crowd up, and I'm here to fucking yell at you and jump on you.
Yeah,
like,
I love
that's
that,
my job. That's my job.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love it. It's the coolest thing to ever do.
Was music always going to be the direction you were going to go in life, or did you entertain other things?
No, that's always what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So I'm killing it. As far as I'm concerned.
You're out there living the dream, bro.
Yeah, I was telling a friend, like, my bucket list is pretty thin. Like, it's pretty empty at this point. I got to think of new things to think about, or like to want to do, because I've done most of them. I'm like, shit. Like, but man, I just never thought that I would do any of this ever.
But when you were getting into the music industry, though, was it always going to be like extreme metal? Was that always the genre of music that you loved the most?
Well, no, I mean, I grew up listening to hardcore and hardcore punk and stuff. So, I mean, there's not many like hardcore bands that like make money.
No, that's true.
And that's also like not the priority to like start a band, live off of it. It's just like, start a band, get out what you have to say, and then the band's done. Start another band if you got something else that you want to think about, like, or say, or so like the band cycle, the life cycle of bands, as far as I grew up with, was like, you got like 5 years, do it, and then quit.
Yeah, you got a window. Yeah,
you got a window, because people are going to get bored. And hardcore bands don't usually put out 2 LPs, or they put out like a demo tape, maybe 2 7-inches, a split, maybe a song on a comp, an LP, and you're done. That's how it was for such a long time, and that's what I grew up with. So the idea of longevity of playing music is fucking foreign to me. So
I know.
Here we're at what, year 6? Yeah, starting year 6. Yeah, it's like the anniversary month. Yeah, so year 6. I as far as I'm concerned, like, we should have broken up 2 years ago. Like, in my stupid brain.
Yeah.
But no, it's not the case. Like, we can actually make this worthwhile, and like, we could potentially make a living off of it. And that's fucking great.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like, I lost my job. We went on that Slave to the Grave tour, and I lost my job right before we left. On the phone.
Because of the tour?
Yes and no. Like, my previous employer always was really cool with it, and they were super supportive. Yeah, they loved it that I was going out on tour. Like, when we did the Decibel tour, they thought that was the coolest fucking thing in the world. Yeah, even though they didn't know a thing about it. They were just like, that's sick, because we had that Decibel out like magazine cover. Yeah. So I was like, this is proof.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, holy shit. Like,
Bragging
yeah,
rights. Sure.
yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
do whatever you want, man. Like, I was like, oh, that's
A
awesome.
rock
But
star working here.
exactly, that's exactly how it went down, and it was weird. But
Yeah.
what is it? Then while we were in Europe, that my employer got bought by a different company. So when I came back, I had new coworkers, new bosses, a
Not so
whole
tolerant. Yeah.
not so tolerant.
Yeah.
They also kind of didn't know, um, and so I kept trying to explain to them what was going on, and like my schedule,
Yeah.
because the band is first, the job is second,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like I think like maybe a week before we left, I think they canned me on like Halloween, and I was like, cool, like I knew this was coming, like it
Yeah.
was only a matter of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just like, well, the whole tour, I was like, man, I got to find another job. Do I even want another job? Can I live off the band? No, we definitely
No.
don't make that. No, not
No.
yet. I mean, hopefully at some point,
Yeah.
but like, no, not right now. So just ended up like we got back from tour. I was like, I'll just work for myself in between tours because I
Yeah.
won't fire myself. I'll have enough, hopefully get enough jobs that I can, do handyman stuff around town and like make ends meet in between tours. And
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Yeah. You got to be a
So,
real dickhead boss to fire yourself.
yeah, I've thought about it. Technically, this week was my first week as being self-employed, and it was fine.
Yeah.
It felt like
Yeah.
I was more doing errands than working.
So
I
how
was
do
just
you
like,
parlay yourself to get that big break though? So let's say this new album comes out. What's the next move? Like what do you pick up the phone? Do you start reaching out to bands? Do you start saying like, hey, I want on this tour? How do you navigate through it all?
we kind of just we're kind of more sit and wait for like the right opportunity
Mhm.
to start. But the no, Pat, I'm doing an interview right now. Sorry.
That's all right.
There's a lot of commotion all of a sudden, of course.
I love that.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, fuck you too, pal.
Oh, we were talking about like where you go after the album comes out and how you navigate yourself to make that next move.
Oh, we yeah. Sorry about all that.
No, it's okay.
We're just kind of let's sit and wait and see what offers like come to us, and we'll just kind of navigate between all of them and see which ones we want to do, which ones we don't want to do, and like we're trying to set up doing like our first headlining tour
Yeah.
for the US. I think after the last few tours that we've done, I think we can make that work. And that's basically just calling friends that you meet, from going on tour. You meet promoters, meet bands and stuff like that, and you're just like, well, who would I want to hang out with for a month?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that does matter though, man. I mean, personalities have to mesh, I mean.
Yeah, and I would say the top two that we've had is the last one, the Slave to the Grave tour with Undeath, 200 Stab Wounds, and Phobophilic is number one, and a close number two is the Decibel tour. Like,
yeah,
everyone clicked so well on the road. So
is there any kind of like a dream scenario or like a concert bill that you would see that you could see enforced on, what I mean? Like if you could play like concert promoter and put yourself on a bill, like what you think would be a nice combination?
Yeah, Slayer reunion tour would be pretty cool.
Don't rule it out, man. Everybody gets back together for the right price.
Yeah, playing Kiss last show would be sick.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone would like it, but like,
I don't know if there's ever gonna. Hey, I'm not so convinced there's gonna be a Kiss last show.
I know they're gonna be playing Into the Grave, dude.
I think this reunion tour could outlast all of us.
Yeah, for sure.
Or this farewell tour, I should say.
Yeah, my brother went and saw it. He lives in Milwaukee, and he was like, "Dude, this looks so sick." He had no expectations. He had no idea how. Like, he had an understanding of like it was going to be nuts, but he was like, "Dude, I've seen videos, but there's nothing like seeing Kiss live. And I was like,
No, there's
dude,
not. Yeah.
I've never seen them, and I'm just like, that pisses me
Yeah.
off. Like, I want to
Well,
see it so bad.
I think a lot of what makes Kiss so great is a lot of like the pageantry. A lot of probably what made like somebody like Elvis so great. You know what I mean? Elvis was big with the costumes and the rings,
and
rhinestones, and you got the whole performance. With Kiss, it's the costumes and it's the blood from Gene's tongue and it's the pyro and it's the zip lines that Paul comes out over the crowd on. It's and the fire and the all that kind of stuff. So you're really getting like a real top-notch performance. You're getting to see a show. Obviously, Kiss isn't the world's greatest rock and roll band as far as like from a technical standpoint on their instruments, and I think they've been pretty candid in interviews and is saying that too, which is why I think they put so much punch into the show itself, and especially as they've gotten on, and they've gotten on in age, and they've taken quite a whipping for using backing tracks and all that kind of stuff. Which, come on, you got to cut a band like that a pass, man. They're fucking legends, man. You're expecting Paul to sound like he did back in 1977? I mean.
At the same time, I don't care. Like,
no, right.
I don't care what you do. I'm not one for gimmicks. I really don't like gimmicks, but like, Kiss is the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
Like, which makes the rule. It's like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Everything else can't be.
Because you can't it's genius branding, though. I mean, like, shit, those guys had movies and comic books and action figures. And,
coffins.
I mean, like, you could, you know what I mean? Like, that's like taking a band and really turning it into like, and I guess other bands have done it too. I mean, I'm sure Metallica is kind of, a corporation, so to speak, maybe without all the bells and whistles and gimmicks or whatever, but it's certainly big business.
Yeah. The armies of employees behind that band, like, they can't quit because then, like, one of the sound guys or the light guys or one of the roadies that carries all the equipment can't.
Yeah.
Put food in people's mouths. It's like, if I quit my band, like, 40 people lose their job. Like,
but you as a young band being out on the road, though, you gotta feel.
No, we don't have 40 people.
Right. But you gotta feel pretty good, though. You gotta feel pretty good when you're out there with these bands and on these tours, though. That, like, heavy metal specifically is in good hands, though, because it is a very fruitful time as far as like there's a lot of good, young bands that are really keeping extreme metal alive. And me as a metalhead, I never thought metal was officially going to die, but I think people got a little nervous in the '90s when Pantera was really the only one really truly really flying the flag and trying to battle against country music, and hip hop got really big or whatever. But I think now here, in today's current market, I mean, extreme metal bands are flourishing. Maybe not commercially, but there's a lot of them though.
I mean, not commercially, but like, I don't necessarily believe that you have to be successful commercially to, like,
not at all. No,
not even thrive, but just, I mean, thrive is a strong word, but just to continue being a band, like, I think it's probably easier than ever.
Yeah.
So, especially like, I'm not on any type of like pedestal. I'm just some dude.
Right.
So, if I can do it, like, shit, it takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of work. But
are you one of these guys that sings extreme metal music that does anything special for your voice? I see the drinking, I see the smoking, the cigarettes. Are you somebody that just doesn't put in stock? That's it.
That's it. That's the remedy right there.
That's the remedy right there.
Miller Lite and Maverick cigarettes. That's
just get up there and belt it out, and it works for you.
Yeah, I literally just yell as loud as I possibly can. Like, nothing, no throat coat tea is gonna change. Like, me just screaming as loud as possible. If I put thought into it, like, maybe, but I never have. And like, I've been doing vocals in bands and stuff since I was like 13, 14. So like, I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'm just gonna keep doing it the way I've always been doing it. Like, I have to do something really stupid to blow up my voice, which I've done. Like on tour and stuff. And there's stuff out there like Vocal Zone. I think it's only sold in the UK, but you can get it on Amazon. Vocal Zone got my voice back from like barely whispering, like trying to scream, to being able to kind of do it in a day. And so after a couple days, like, I got my voice back. No harm.
What exactly is Vocal Zone?
It's just like a little lozenge.
Oh, okay.
You suck on one before you go on stage, and you suck on one afterwards. And I don't know what's in it. It's probably, I think it's a lot of black licorice and menthol and stuff. If you take too many, you burn your tongue. I
Yeah.
burned my tongue on
Potent.
like menthol or something like that. They taste fucking terrible, but I
Yeah.
swear by them.
Well, just as we were talking about a minute ago about finding commercial success and how tough it is, especially nowadays in the music business. I mean, I think it's always been tough, but I mean, it's very tough now because, streaming album sales aren't what they used to. People are trying to go out and make a lot of their money on live shows and merchandise or whatever. So it's
That's
probably
the
tough.
key.
Yeah, that's the key. It's probably tough sometimes, though, in young bands, to keep the morale up and for people not to just want to throw in the towel. You feel like you got a pretty good set lineup with all the guys kind of rowing in the same direction, so to speak?
Lineup as in like band members, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
everybody seems pretty invested and is not going
Yeah,
nowhere.
yeah. I remember when we signed to Century, we all took basically like a blood pact, like a blood oath. We're like,
Yeah,
this is it.
we're doing
We're
this.
all
Yeah.
doing this together. Like, there's no getting out of it.
Hell or high water.
No
Yeah.
one's fucking quitting. You got to deal with my stinky feet.
Yeah.
And there's no getting out of this until like we are all like done, like
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, all right, fuck it.
I like that. It's very Godfather-like, you know what I mean? Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
Yeah. We're all in it. We're all in it to win it. So
I love that, though, man. I love that,
awesome.
man. If more bands were doing that, because I imagine right now, for young bands, and not knowing the inner workings of any young bands specifically, but I imagine it must be pretty hard sometimes for like members to say, you know what, in the last 6 months we ain't done shit, we ain't made shit. I'm done. I'm going to get a fucking day job, or I'm going back to school or something. I mean, it's probably hard to get like a bunch of young guys invested because it's not, it's very different than when you're playing air guitar in your room, and especially nowadays because there's not a lot of there ain't a lot of record labels, and there's not a lot of big record contracts and record deals. I don't even know if those even exist anymore, do they?
Not really.
I'm even hearing big bands are kind of going like the do-it-yourself route.
Yeah, I mean, you could. There's no reason not to. If you have a big enough audience, then you should be able to make it on your own. You don't need anyone. The only thing I would say that Century Super helps us out on is just widening our audience, because I mean it's Century fucking Media.
Yeah.
So it went from playing like booking DIY tours and having like maybe anywhere from 0 to 100 people coming to shows to like 300 upwards to, I mean, we played Hellfest and that was like 15,000. So 15,000 people who were like into it. So I was like, shit. So like that's nice. We never would have gotten those opportunities had we gone the DIY route. But like, I think the end result would be the same in my head. I mean, maybe I'm being insanely positive, or like maybe I should be more skeptical, but even if we never played like in front of 15,000 people and we only played, like 500 cap clubs forever.
Right.
That's fine. That's fine with me. As long as the place is back, I don't care.
But on the flip side of that, though, man, how do you approach it, though? Like, what's your mindset specifically, like you or the band, if you know the answer to that? But you specifically, though, is it very underwhelming and hard to get up for a show when you do know that there's only like maybe 2 or 3 people out there in the crowd? And how do you gear yourself up for it?
If there's no one there, I don't care. Like, I'll play a house tomorrow. Like, there doesn't need to be 10. Like 10 people's fine. It just depends on the size of the room. Like if you're playing a living room, 10 people, that's the whole room. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But like if it's a huge venue and only 100 people show up, or like a 1,200 cap room, that kind of sucks. It feels like no one's there. But at the same time, like I'm just happy to be somewhere else playing in front of anybody.
Yeah.
Like to have the experience to even do that.
Yeah.
Or like so I mean, me personally, I don't really care all that much. I'm just happy to be doing whatever I'm doing, whether it be for a loss or whatever. I'd rather just like have the life experience and live my life the way I want to, other than like I don't have to necessarily be like completely successful every single fucking day of my life.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I could take some L's. It's fine. Like, just move on.
We all got to take them at some point.
Yeah,
I mean, shit.
if you've got like a month of wins, there's going to be a hard
Something's coming.
loss. There's a
Yeah.
hard loss coming. Like, just steel yourself for that moment because it's going to suck.
So I'm interested. You said this new album is going to be, more sleek, more trimmed down. Faster. You cut the time down on it. That sounds like there's more of a hardcore approach to it. That sounds more like the hardcore, like way to do things. Is it intentional?
I think it was like all of it are like subconscious because we put so much time and effort into making Kilgrid perfect that when it came time, like in September when we recorded it, that like, do we really want to do that again? Like, not really. That was a nightmare, and like that took a lot. That took a lot out of all of us to do that.
Yeah.
So it's just like, why don't like all these songs are a lot faster. They're a lot more raw. Like, why don't we just keep up the momentum and sound and style of how we play live?
Yeah.
So there's no click. Like, we just play fast as fuck. And I sing or scream as loud as I possibly fucking can. And it's not perfect.
Right.
But I think it's leagues and bounds better than Kilgrid because it's so authentic and it's so raw, and like that's what comes naturally to us is like as a unit. Like, that's what I want to do, and that's how we want to play.
And I certainly start thinking, I certainly start getting hardcore vibes when I hear about albums coming in at, 30 minutes and below. Because then you start to think of, I'm here in upstate New York. So we, down in New York City, we have a legendary hardcore scene down there. And those bands, that was always the formula. 1.5, 2-minute songs, your Cro-Mags, your Agnostic Fronts, you know what I mean? Like, you're sick of it all, you know what I mean? Like, just, blinding speed, ferocious. And you get that for about 1.5 minutes and then done.
Like, I think the short, we don't go that low. I think the shortest song is like 2 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think the longest one is, it might be 4.5, maybe. Because I know a lot of people's gripe with Kilgrid is that the title track was 7 minutes or something like that, and I was just like, yeah, well, like, that's understandable gripe, but
yeah. Well, that just goes to show how much people's attention span has changed, though, because there used to be a point in time when people went apeshit for a 7-minute Metallica song, and that's all they wrote back in the days.
I go shit. Like, I'm a huge Brian Eno fan, so I'm down for, like, if you can hold my attention for 1.5 hours, and it's just like space noises, done. Like, I'm sold. Like, but if you can't hold my attention for 4 minutes, there's an issue. Like,
and do you think that speaks to, as a guy with opinions and a guy who's like checking out the social landscape and is more or less like reporting on this kind of stuff, like through your lyrics, do you see that as a problem in the music industry, though? People's attention span and how people can't seem to sit down and listen to an album in its entirety anymore, where people are just kind of like, oh, I like track 1 and 3. That's going to go on my playlist. And, does it get frustrating as an artist to know that sometimes people won't explore every track on your album and there might be some good gems in there that get kind of pushed to the side in favor of, more popular tracks or more tracks that are, that appeal to people?
See, I thought that way until we started touring after Kilgrid, because our like biggest song is like track 8 out of 9. So it's just like, how did you even make it to the end of the album?
I know.
It's like, oh wait, you listened to the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, why don't you play Trespasser, which is the last song? You're just like, God damn, you listened to this whole album. You didn't just,
that's
like,
encouraging.
Through it. Yeah. So I was like, dude, people who come to these types of shows and listen to this type of music, they're not your typical demographic of people.
I agree.
Because they're listening from book cover to book cover.
I
Like,
agree. I
they're
agree.
gonna
And I
listen
think
to
that
every
and I
single
think
song.
that is I think that is part of being in the metal community. I think that doesn't go for every genre, but I think the metal community, I agree with you on that. The metal community are one of the people that will put an album on and go start to finish.
Yeah, this isn't pop looking for the next best thing, like
Right.
the biggest thing. It's just like it's a community and a culture of like diehard people and
Yeah.
diehard fans, and it's not kind of like the fans are blasé. Like, if you make a fan, you make a fan. Like,
Yeah.
they're going to come see you. They're going to buy the records, and even if they don't like agree or like one of the records that you put out, they're not leaving you. Like, they're
Right.
still going to buy it or listen
Right.
to it, and they're still going to have an opinion on it, which I think is cool. So there's like not infinite chances, but like the metal community definitely sticks to listening to what it likes and will always give, you know, its very small genre a chance.
Yeah, I agree.
So like, I've been a couple like Facebook like I guess metal appreciation groups or
Groups
something
and
like
stuff.
that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
like fan clubs and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the amount of like constant new stuff that's constantly popping up on those pages is just like, dude, I don't know how anyone can like keep up with any of this.
Yeah. It's tough.
And it seems like there's a new album like every week, every other week. You're just like, dude,
Yeah.
how can you sift through all of this and pick one
Right.
like that you like more or less? It's like, that's so much.
Right.
But like and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but to like kind of be sought after and like poor like sifted through to find is awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the best way to put it. It's just that's a very nice feeling to
Yeah.
hear people be like, I want to listen to what that band's doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a lot. It's just wild.
I think the quandary that a lot of artists are in too, though, is speaking to the point that you made, though, is that I think people get afraid of putting out like a fantastic album, because as I mentioned, a lot of the tracks don't get listened to. So, are people trying to write a great album nowadays, or are they trying to write a good song? I mean, it's going to get its hooks in people.
I think metal bands are trying to write good albums.
I hope so. Yeah, it seems that way. Most of the metal people that I get on here, and I try to talk to people from all different genres, but I get a lot of metal guys on here though, and a lot of them still have a very old school mentality. Even younger bands still have that old school. Yeah, when we sit down and we write records.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been the ethos.
Yeah,
pretty much. It's just like it's not even like an old head thing. It's just like, well, if you're a metal band, you got to write a good album.
Right.
Period. You might have somehow have like a hit or two off of it. Cool. But the whole album has to be good. Because if everything suffers and you only have like two decent singles or songs off of it, everyone's gonna know.
Yeah.
They're gonna know that you worked hard on two and then phoned it in for the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, me being an old school guy too, I obviously grew up in an era where it wasn't just the listening experience; it was audio and visual. And what I mean by that is like you looked at album artwork. In the cassette era, you opened up that gatefold, you studied the lyrics, you read who the band is thanking in there. You know what I mean? Like
we do that. Like we do a lot of sans album art. We don't do that because we suck at drawing, but like all the inserts and layouts and stuff.
Yeah.
We do technically in-house. I mean, Kilgore was done by our drummer's girlfriend, and our guitarist Will did the new one for the new album. And it looks fine. Look great.
And people see it. Yeah, people see it and they appreciate that though, man, because there are still people out there that still appreciate the physical product. I mean, it's like digitalized music is kind of going to drag us along kicking and screaming, whether we want to or not. I mean, we're certainly not going to go backwards, so these musical platforms, obviously are here to stay, I mean, but and again, I think this speaks again to the metal community. I also think, where they're the type of people that listen to an album start to finish, I think they're also the kind of people that will listen to that album and buy it in its physical form as well. You know?
They'll buy it anyway.
Yeah.
Like it's not flaky.
Right.
Like, I know the metal community as a whole can be like picky or finicky,
Yeah, they
but
can be.
that doesn't mean that they know what they like, and what they like they will support.
Yeah.
Full stop. That
Yeah.
could be, you know, like perfect example, like being on tour, people coming to shows. That's great. But then like someone buying, like, I want every piece of merch in 2X, and I also want both albums, the pin, like
Yeah.
everything, and just
Yeah.
drop an ass load of fucking money. I'm just like, in
I've
my
done
head, I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah, I've done
But
that.
listen, oh, hey, I've done it, but I've done it too. So
Yeah.
it's just like, I can't really blame them. The first time we played
Yeah.
with Obituary, I think our like third or fourth month of ever being a band, and I bought every shirt.
Yeah.
I bought the hat. I bought I think I spent like almost $400
Yeah.
on
The
merch.
Obituary
And
gear?
yeah, and I didn't even think twice about it.
Yeah, I love those guys.
And well, then I woke up the next day and looked at my bank account and said, "What happened?" And then I
Yeah.
looked over and saw a
Obituary
mountain
happened.
I saw a mountain of merch, and I was like, "Oh,
Obituary
that's
came
what
to
happened."
town.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. It's like, ah, shit. Like, oh well, at least I got a bunch of new shirts. That's cool.
Not quite as commercially successful in the death metal genre as Cannibal Corpse, but I think a close second. But for pound, man, in my mind, the greatest death metal band of all time,
Oh,
Obituary.
they're fucking great, and they're fucking great dudes. And
Love them.
you know,
Yeah, I've had Ken on. I've had Ken on here actually, and he was
oh
kind enough
really?
where, yeah, he was kind enough where he sent me out an Obituary beanie and a shirt just out of nowhere. He said, "Hey, when we finish the interview, send me your address. Just put
Well,
me
that's
out a
not.
shirt. You know, you put me out a shirt and a winter hat. You know what I mean? And
Hey
yeah,
man, it's a
Obituary.
lot. That's a
Huh?
lot of pressure. It's a lot of
That's a lot.
pressure. But we, I, I'm happy and sad to say that we're pretty much out of most of the merch that we had
Oh, I
that
don't
we made
fish for it at all. God, no, man. He actually, yeah. I mean, he actually offered in, you know, because the interview like went so good or whatever, man. And, yeah, just a super, super nice guy. And he's not even an original member, but he's been with them a long time, I think, in some capacity.
Yeah. He's the best. He used to play guitar in HWK. We actually play on this tour. We played Salt Lake City, and Obituary was on tour with the Monomara, like a 5-minute drive away.
Yeah.
So I was like, I hit up Kenny. I was like, hey, like, you want to hang out for the show? He was like, oh shit, you're in town. I was like, yeah, we're playing like outside in this like alleyway.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, come on, you can come on the bus and do whatever you want. I was like, all right, cool. So came, hung out with him, saw all the dudes, and I was like, all right, well, I have to go back to play my set. He's like, what's the address? And I was like, Kenny, you don't have to go, man. He was like, no, I'm gonna go. I was like, all right, well, here's the address. And
Nice. Support.
I was like, he's not gonna show up. Like they're playing, and like they're in there like because they were on tour for how long was that tour? It was a long one, like
Yeah.
5 or 6 weeks. So I was like, everyone's in the groove of doing their own thing, like, and like day by day, everyone's got their own groove.
Yeah.
So I was like, he's not coming. He's just gonna play and hang out with everybody, and you know that's the night.
Yeah.
But like halfway through our set, I'm on stage, and we go into another song. And I'm like looking out in the crowd, and like in the very back in the corner, there was like a light shining on him, and I was like,
here he is.
"Holy fuck, it's Kenny!"
Yeah. That's love, though, man. That's support right there.
He had that big Kenny smile, and I was like,
Yeah.
"That motherfucker, he actually showed up."
Yeah. But you know what, though, man? I think he realizes his role, though, man, as an elder in that scene where how much a gesture like that means to a young band, though. You know what I mean? He gets it. You know what I mean? As a guy that's been around the scene for him to have the foresight and to be that astute to say, you know what I mean? This is the kind of pickup that this is the kind of pick me up that these bands need. You know what I mean? To keep this genre going. You know?
Yeah, and it was cool to like after our set, like we packed up the van and everything, and he hung out in the little green room that he had. It was like a really tiny green room with a Super Nintendo in it.
Yeah.
And all the other bands were like packed in there, and Kenny comes through, and everyone, it almost like attention, like holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like, relax, everybody, and like having him come and meet the tour that we were all like, buddy with, like
Yeah.
really, I know it made like a couple people's day or like week. I'm just like,
Yeah.
holy shit. Like
Yeah.
someone from Obituary came to one of our shows. And I was just like, yeah, like they're normal. They're people. They are they are people.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
yeah, but they're definitely though, man. Like on the Mount Rushmore of death metal bands, they're right there for sure. No
oh yeah,
question about it. No question about it.
yeah, it can't be denied.
No.
But overall, like great people. I mean, Terry's the same way. Terry Butler,
Yeah. Yeah.
I love him to death. He's such a
I
fucking
mean,
great dude.
for God's
And the
sake,
Tardys are
Hardy
fucking great.
Brothers, legends. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't say. I mean, you can't say anything but the fact that they're legends, man. And it's funny because I've had James Murphy on here also, and we've tried to figure out like what it is about that Florida scene, man, down there in Tampa that just breeds fantastic death metal.
I don't know, but
Must
they
be the
all
heat.
have. But they all have. Yeah, they're all fucking fried out of their minds and staring at the sun. But like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. There's something about it that just like, especially with Florida death metal, has like this very sick and cool groove
Yeah, it does.
to it all.
It fits
it
down there.
It just because I don't know if it's like this kind of laid back nature, just like, well, I want the tunes to groove,
Right.
like, or whatever it is. But it's just like, is it like super overall aggressive? Yeah, kind of. Can you like bang your head to it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you also like show your mom it and like get her kind of bouncing? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's like, this is like the best, like, I hate to call it an entry point because it's far more than that, but like to get newer people into a very extreme genre, like
Yeah.
I would go Florida death metal every single time because you've got all the ingredients and then you have like this just sick groove that kind of pervades through all of it.
Yeah. I find when I try to turn people on the metal that the extreme metal, the one thing that usually turns people off the most is when vocals start.
Yeah. My mom hates it.
Yeah.
She's super supportive, but she's just like, yeah, if I just understood what you're saying. It's like,
right. That's usually what I get. I get people telling me it just sounds like somebody growling.
Yeah, it was just, but at the same time, it's like, well, I think I like announced pretty well, or like,
You enunciate well. Yeah,
I enunciate okay. But
yeah.
The greatest part, Mom, is that it comes with lyrics, so you can actually read it, and like
Yeah.
you could read what I say, like
yeah.
It's not, but like, they don't want to go the extra mile to read.
Right.
And you're just like, oh my god, like
just not a lot of death metal karaoke going on. That's for sure.
Can you read? Like you can read. Like it's not that hard. But like,
I do got to say that Florida scene is great. But I had Paul, the drummer, on from Cannibal Corpse not that long ago, and he did remind me though the Cannibal are actually Florida transplants. They are from down the road here in Buffalo, New York, originally. Okay. So yeah, so they're not originally. They're not like the Deicides and the Obituary Boys and all those guys down there that have made always called Florida home. So. Mm-hmm. But I think they spent most of their career there, so they've been lumped in, with the Florida death metal scene because they've been there longer than they've been here, and they became very popular, and their career flourished once they got down there.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone is from just one place. Like,
right.
I mean, technically, we're like a Richmond metal band, but all of us except one aren't from here.
Right, you're a Minnesota guy, right? Initially,
I was raised in Minneapolis, outside of Minneapolis and Coon Rapids, and was born in Baltimore. And I have a military background, so like I was hopping all over the place.
Okay.
Growing up. So when I went to college, I moved to Richmond, and I've just been here ever since.
Okay.
So it just so happens that I am here.
Yeah.
But everyone else kind of had the same ideas. Like we got to move to the big city in Virginia from like all different parts.
Yeah.
Except for our drummer, Alex. He's from Colonial Heights, which is like 15 minutes south. So he may as well have just grown up in Richmond.
So does geography have a big thing to do with the success of a band right now? Like where you position yourself, like your physical location? Does that matter?
I don't think so. Because if you're willing to tour, then what does it matter how far you got to drive?
Or where you're coming out of. Right.
Yeah, just try and find something. You try and find your first show, hopefully 4 hours outside of where you're at. So that's just a decent drive, just an easy drive, easy 4-hour drive. So
there will be
you could be you could be from nowhere. Who cares?
So there will be
I
new enforced music. Care. There will be new enforced music this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The new album's coming out this year. What day is it? Is it the 9th? What's today?
The 7th. January 7th.
Jesus, I don't know what day it is. 7th. Give it 2 weeks.
And it'll be out?
It'll be announced, and there's a single coming.
Awesome.
And then then the War Machine starts churning out, music videos and singles and pre-orders and all that stuff.
And then it's on to World Domination for Enforced.
It's on to World Domination.
Well, it's about fucking time, right? I mean, come on.
Part 2 of 19. Yeah,
part 2 of that. Well, hey, it's not as many parts as there's been to the Kiss Farewell Tour. So, I mean, you're still not that yet. True. So, I mean, yeah.
Hey, one day, hopefully, if we're happy.
You're not there yet. But listen, man, it's been well, in closing, man, I've been trying to ask all my guests before I wrap things up here. Best piece of advice that you've been given or could give. And it doesn't just got to be music related, could be life related. You seem like a guy who's going to probably have a good little nugget in there somewhere. So,
it would be really simple. Let me think. Just don't give up. Don't stop. If you want to do something, actively, do whatever it takes. Me, perfect example. Just growing up with metal and stuff. I always loved it. And hardcore, I've always loved it. So I always wanted to be in bands. I started making bands. I wanted to hear a song like this. I wrote the fucking song that I wanted to hear. Wanted to hear. I wanted in my professional career as a maintenance technician, I wanted to be a supervisor. I worked really fucking hard to become a supervisor. And then now not having that job, it's I don't want to have that job. I want to work for myself. Now I'm working for myself. Painting Warhammer miniatures is a huge hobby of mine. I want to get better at that. We got to buy a bunch of models and paint, and you got to get good at that. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
Goals,
in my downtown is constant. Don't stop. Never stop. If you stop, you're never gonna get it.
Yeah. So and you happen to have a good name too. So if you add a couple more X's to the end of KNOX, you can always go glam.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah. When in doubt, get a kid and name them KNOX. I think it's unisex. Just name the kid KNOX, and that kid will prosper solely because there's an X and a silent K in it.
Yeah,
it's
there you go,
super
man.
Confusing.
That's the formula. That's the formula out there, parents. That's the formula.
Name them KNOX.
Let's bring back the name KNOX in 2023. Yeah. Hard knock.
That'll be great.
Well, listen, man, it's been a real pleasure chopping it up with you, man. Thanks for being so generous with your time. And when the new album drops, man, let's get on here and do it again, man.
Absolutely.
We'll stay in touch, man, for sure. Yeah, it's been great talking to you, man. Yeah, talk to you soon, man, brother. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, brother.
You're very welcome. Thank
you. All right,
man.
talk to you soon, brother. Later.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Later. Do yourself a favor, folks. Oh, I'm jumping already. See that, man? Enforced got me. Go out and check out Enforced, specifically 2021's album Kill Grid. I should know that because I've been rocking it nonstop. Kill Grid. And you will be thanking me later in the comment section when you go check out Enforced. Kill Grid. Hear what I'm saying. Go listen to it. It is fucking thrash music done heavy and fucking right. Correct. Come and correct them boys. Out of Richmond, Virginia. That is KNOX, COLBY, their lead singer. And go give them boys some love. You can find them on all the music platforms. As you hear, exciting news, man. They're going to be dropping a new album here in the very near future. And these guys are a force to be reckoned with, man. Y'all are going to like this, man. Y'all call yourself metalheads out there, man. Go listen to Enforced. I'm a better person for having discovered their music. And I know Keith is too. Keith, would you agree? See? I only got a nod out of him, but still. He was banging his head all night last night, man. I don't know if it was the cocaine or the enforced, but either way, we had a good time last night. So I hope you guys had a good time with that episode of Pod Scum. And I want to remind you guys, as always, to take it easy and keep it sleazy.